Yes, we have finally made it. Robinhood have reached the Eredivisie as rank outsiders for the title and also rank outsiders to avoid relegation. Can we somehow defy the odds? So go on then, get your predictions in early. Leave me a comment. I know you haven't seen the transfers or got any of the news or updates yet, but what's your gut feeling? How do you think we're going to do this season? Now, it was clear we would have to add new players and more depth to the squad to stand any kind of chance. But the fact is, our finances were not great. 3 years of traversing the Atlantic every time we had an away game, no doubt not helping. I mean, seriously, look at those travel costs for last season. So where can a club like ours get money from? Well, would you look at that, our epic rise up to the Eredivisie, up to the top flight of a big-ish European league had attracted potential investment, which meant that, oh, well, never mind. So how is that Eredivisie TV money? Well, with over £200,000 in the bank before we've even played a match, looking pretty good. Still, with the new board being about as responsive to our financial situation as the UK government is to the cost of living crisis,
calm down.
Our budget to strengthen the squad and try and avoid relegation was zero. Yeah, a big fat zero.
But that doesn't amount to an emergency budget.
And when you see our wage budget, sure, it's an improvement on last year's $34,000 a week, but just over $41,000 a week. And compare it to Ajax and see that it wouldn't even cover the wage of Edson Alvarez. And in fact, not even half the wage of Luka Jovic. Then I think we can agree that, yeah, this is going to be tough. So despite that takeover and that influx of TV money, our transfer policy was still to look at free agents and loan signings. So first to join us was J.D. Guysens, who'd just been released by Genk. So while he lacks experience and determination, he does add depth and quality to our midfield. Also joining on a free was Carsten Rosenthal, who despite the name and the fact that he came through the Borussia Dortmund youth system, turns out to be Italian. He does have high determination, and hopefully his technical prowess is going to make up for his lack of speed. We also signed Moroccan youngster Yawad Idrissi, who has some developing to do, but looks to have the makings of a decent midfielder and someone who can provide backup to Antognelli in that holding role. And the final freebie came late in the transfer window as our proximity to the United States enabled us to snap up another youngster from the American developmental leagues, Gilbert Esquivel. Again, he would be used as a backup with the promise of future development or perhaps future profit. Our loan signings were mainly cheap backup, but one to potentially watch is John Berkhout, who joins us from AS Alkmaar. And should our finances prove in this season in the Eredivisie, we've put in an optional future buyout clause of £55,000. Oh, and there was one more loan deal, but this was more of an extension than a signing. Kian Fitzjim returns for a frankly ridiculous fourth consecutive season on loan from Ajax. So maybe we can finally talk him out of playing for the Dutch youth teams, head off any overtures from Hong Kong, and persuade him to play for Suriname. So we would be relying largely on the squad that got us up to the Eredivisie in the first place, which is a great reward for them, but means we potentially have a long, difficult season ahead. So what does our new board expect? Well, first of all, they expect you to subscribe to the channel so you stay up to date with all the updates for the season ahead. And on the pitch, thankfully they're happy for us to just fight bravely against relegation. And then there's the usual requirements to stay in the wage budget and try to sell players for a profit. They also said repair the club's financial damage, but thanks TV money. What concerned me though was their insistence that we play defensively solid football and a possession-based game, which hardly seems to match up to our 700-1 outside attack. Surely we should be expected to scrap for the ball and just take any points that come our way. Perhaps with the occasional heavy beating. At least we'd had some easy warm-up friendlies against our former colleagues from the Suriname League. And we would have a few matches to get used to our new surroundings before our first big game against PSV. We gave a good account of ourselves in our opening game against Zwolle, though we did ride our luck at times, and nearly had our share of luck as well as a big defensive error presented De La Cruz with a great chance. But then came the grimly inevitable agony of a stoppage time defeat. Our first home game was against Vitesse, but we found ourselves a goal down and needing to step up a gear. Ho-ho! Francophone punnery. And this time we benefited from the game going into stoppage time as promotion hero Jamilio Pinas got our first goal in the top flight. Familiar foes the next week in the form of Heracles Almelo, who we'd played in the Kuken Campion division, Dela Cruz getting us the goal, and the first Eredivisie win. FC Groningen would do us no favours the following week as we went down 1-0 at home, but it was a very tightly fought game, which meant 4 points on the board after 4 games, giving us some small element of hope that we might be able to escape relegation after all. But a tough run was looming that would threaten to burst our bubble of optimism as we would face PSV, Feyenoord and Ajax all in the coming 6 weeks, all away from home, and all to be covered in the next episode of The Legend of Robinhood. So make sure you're subscribed and you don't miss out on the action.